Antarctica without the use of this radar penetrating technology. So obviously someone had to depart this knowledge to them. Who could that have been? Okay, so again, we look towards more of the modern search for this planet. Now, many people again have been caught up with the rumor that this planet is coming back to kill us. No. What if this planet holds our ancient ancestors? What if there are beings living on this planet and we can still find it and say, wow, there are beings connected to us, not on Earth? Heavy topic. So it's not the doom and gloom aspect. It's the scientific proof to confirm what the Bible has been telling us all along. Have ancient man been visited by these, gods, as they called it, but they're basically a part of us, our own flesh and blood. Now, will we ever meet them again? Are they still here? Why don't we see them now? Many deep areas of ufology that go into the government cover-up. Some of those we can touch on. The modern search for a Planet X basically started in the early 80s, where we started to see that when we sent astronomical satellites into space to do infrared observations based on heat signatures, we started to see all these new planets and things that we weren't able to see before just by visible light. So when they started to do mathematical calculations based on the observations on the outer planets, they started to notice wobbles in the outer planets, something called a perturbation. The planets are being pulled in a certain direction that leads them to believe there's some other large body out there causing this influential pull, but they don't know what it is. So, an unknown planet, X. But symbolically, if it's beyond Pluto, it would be number 10, Roman numeral 10, X. So, Planet X. So the search begins where this gentleman on the left here was the lead Naval Observatory astronomer, Dr. Robert Harrington, and had calculated, based on the perturbations of the outer planets, that there's some large body out there that we still haven't seen. Zachariah Sitchin on the right came and showed his model of the ancient Nibiru and said, let's collaborate on our information. Let's take the modern understanding of what you're looking for and see if it collaborates and coincides with Nibiru, the ancient understanding for this planet. Guess what? It did. So Dr. Robert Harrington's research became a very focal point in the ancient Nibiru search, with a label of the modern idea of looking for a planet beyond Pluto, a Planet X. Now, there's been all kinds of little things to spear up recently. A 10th planet found, this, that, Sedna, Quoar, Xena. But the point is, Nibiru, as described by the Sumerians, in their visual descriptions and in their verbal, is a very large planet, 4 to 8 times the size of Earth. Not a little hunk of ice the size of Pluto. So if it's coming, we're going to see it. Dr. Robert Harrington left his astronomical plates in the Harvard journals, which are still online. You can go to the Harvard abstracts from Harvard's website. I have them stored on XFAX, where it shows the shots they took in the southern areas of the sky where they thought this planet would be, where we should do mathematical calculations to see further perturbations, use infrared astronomical satellites to further image and see if it's out there. So modern science wasn't too happy to accept the idea of a rogue planet, a planet having an egg-shaped elliptical orbit. They weren't sure it was possible. Very interestingly enough, as soon as we launched Hubble, we started seeing them. This is another star, not our sun. And interestingly enough, you can see at the far bottom tail, it has a little planet that's orbiting this star in a very long elliptical, like egg-shaped orbit, confirming the idea that it is possible for a planet to have a very looped elliptical orbit around the star. And interestingly enough, our satellite showed, from the infrared astronomical satellite, there are many bodies floating around out there. Now, our task, and astronomy's task, has been to label all these planets and see if any of them actually are part of our solar system or have an orbit that might make them somehow a part of our solar system. There's been a whole slew of these satellites put into space looking for possible brown dwarfs, failed stars. One thing that Hubble was able to find when it started doing observations was the fact that many of the solar systems imaged out there are binary, having 2 suns. So they theorized that our solar system, in fact, is binary as well. That we might have another sun beyond, well beyond Pluto, billions of years out there, deep in the Oort cloud is what it's called, but it's a failed sun. It's gone dark. So we could have large deposits of comets, debris, another huge planet like Nibiru, that also gets looped around that dark sun and takes a long time to come back for it to pass around our active sun now, to get thrown back towards the dark sun. So there's a lot of evidence to show that there is something out there affecting the outer planets. Throughout the last decade, modern science has been recording there's something revolving around our sun that's causing an effect on the planets. And if we look at our own solar system, why is Uranus tilted on its side? Why does Neptune and Pluto, could they have possibly been detached moons of Saturn? All of these answers are put into play and described with the resolution of saying there was once a huge planet that passed through and perturbated the planets and caused them to be where they are now, and we still see the effects of that planet. So where is that planet today? The search continues. Interestingly enough, we just launched a couple of years ago a new satellite called SERDIF. And this is one of the latest ones we have out there to detect if it's possible to see a very large extrasolar planet. Now, I met with the lead scientist, Dr. Michelle Thaler, at the Jet Propulsion Laboratories, and asked her point blank, will this telescope be able to find an ancient planet X, a planet 4 to 8 times the size of Earth? And do you think it's possible that there could be something like that out there? We just haven't seen it yet. She said, yes, I do believe it's possible, but SERDIF has to be tuned into very specific points of the sky. It can't just be turned on and be like, hey, look, there it is. It'd have to look in a very specific spot, and then if it were to see it, if it was there, yes, this would have the technology to be able to put this into our visual range of light to see it. Some of the images taken by SERDIF, you can see here, to give you an idea of what I mean, you see this is one of the SERDIF images taken, and the normal visible light shown at the top is just a white spiral that we'd be used to. But when they use the advanced technology and the thermal imaging that this telescope provides, you can see the various other degrees of light penetrating radar that they're able to abstract. And when we see the white versus that colored, look at all those little bright red planets that they couldn't even see before. Look at all of them. Those are all suns. All those little red glowing dots are suns. You know, so the amount of data that we're getting from SERDIF is just amazing in detail. Now, will Planet X be found soon? There's been a whole slew of these planetoids beyond Pluto that have been found. Quoar, Sedna, Xena just recently. And the main factor to get caught up on is these are small. They're all the size of Pluto. The Nibiru that we're talking about is 4 to 8 times the size of Earth. Very large object. No way we're going to miss it with ground-based or space-based telescopes. So here we have the Keck interferometer, another famous one in Hawaii, where it's able to use 2 very fine focused beams of energy and pull in a more detailed digital image of what they're looking at. Very powerful ground-based telescope. And one of the things that we're out there looking for, again, are these brown dwarfs. So that you understand what it is, we're talking about like large gas giants. When the sun eventually, like ours, will blow up one day, it will then shrink down and implode into a gas giant. Jupiter, for instance, is about the size you can see in